To defeat an enemy, you must know them. Not just their battle tactics, but their history, philosophy, art. Welcome to the Chiss Ascendancy Podcast.
Back to the Chiss Ascendancy After Dark. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is Joe with the Chiss Ascendancy, and I'm excited to be back podcasting. I really wanted to get back into this and explain some. Let me get this George Michael out of here. I'm really excited about some upcoming stuff, and so not everybody could be here. Samuel and Adam couldn't be on today, but I was so excited, obviously, about the release of the trailer for the Book of Boba Fett. So we're going to look at it, probably do a solid watch through, and then break it down after that. But first things first, I wanted to show you guys something that I recently got, both our online viewers and just listeners, something that's pretty neat that I just want to make you guys aware of. I recently came across this, and if you follow me on my Star Wars photography page, Fett Ventures, I haven't been super active as of late, but if you follow me on there, you've seen it in my story and such. But it's the Star Wars Episode 3 Ultimate Edition. Let me see where you can see that. Got this glare from this camera here. But it's Episode 3 and everything that you need that includes that storyline. So it's got the final 4 episodes of the Clone Wars. It's got the first episode of the Bad Batch, and it includes the deleted scenes. So I think that was pretty cool. And if you are wondering where you can get that, let me move myself here. If you're wondering where you can get that, you can go to Showtown Apparel and More. Also, if you just Google Revenge of the Sith Ultimate Edition, you can see what comes in there. So this specific edition I got is Ultimate Edition 2021 Fan Edit with Clone Wars from 2020 and the Bad Batch from 2021 and Deleted Scenes Blu-ray. And so I think that's pretty neat. Its runtime is like freaking 5 hours or something ridiculous. So I personally haven't watched it yet all the way through. I have watched a little bit of, there was another version I came across, I want to say it's on Reddit, and they even included the Tartakovsky Clone Wars stuff. So that was pretty cool. Anyways, I just wanted to show you guys that if you didn't come across that already. And so without further ado, I say we get into this trailer and see what's what. How about that? So I guess what we'll do is we'll just give it a little watchy watch or listen if you're just doing this on iTunes or Spotify. And I might say something here or there, but I'm going to try not to pause the whole video. And then we'll go back in and kind of see what we see. How about that?
I am not a bounty hunter.
This Bomar monk kind of looks like a Nightmare Before Christmas character.
I've heard otherwise. I know that you sit on the throne of your former employer.
Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect.
You were all once captains under Jabba the Hutt.
I'm here to make a proposal that's mutually beneficial.
I'm glad they have a workout regimen for the Gamorreans now.
Why speak of conflict when cooperation can make us all rich?
What prevents us all from from killing you and taking what we want.
If you had spoken such insolence to Jabba, he'd have fed you to his menagerie.
Please. Speak freely.
Fantastic. So I wanted to give it a solid listen through, that, especially if you're just listening via audio, you're able to hear it. If you haven't, man, I guess I could have started with, hey, we're watching the trailer, spoilers. I guess it's not too spoilery because it's a trailer in and of itself. But I say we'll just do a little frame by frame and see what we got going on here. I even broke out this Boba Fett hat. It's I think it's a Disney World or Disneyland exclusive from years back. At a job I used to work at, there was a guy that was there that gave me this hat because he heard I was a big Boba Fett and Star Wars fan. And turns out he pretty much hated me. But the joke's on him because I have the hat and I don't work there anymore. So, okay, we're going to press play again before I get into my feelings. And we'll go from there. Right off the bat, here we're like literally 2 seconds in, so I guess we're in for a long night. Me breaking down this trailer. 2 seconds in, tell me if you guys hear a bantha right before this disgusting spider starts walking. Ready? You hear that? It's right at 2 seconds, since you can see the play time on here. You hear that? Here's the Bomar Monk. If you guys don't know what this is, if you're, new to Star Wars, or you just started watching because The Mandalorian or whatever, these Bomar monks believe that once they had reached, and it's one of two things, I can't recall which one specifically, but either once they reached enlightenment, or in order to achieve full enlightenment, they would get their brains placed inside of this vat and have this spider, I guess it's a droid at the end of the day, carry them around. And in Legends, you actually had Bib Fortuna, who is that disgusting Twi'lek that's that Wonga, that guy. In Legends, I don't remember if someone else took over Jabba's palace, or I think maybe the monks did and just used it basically as a monastery. But they put Bib Fortuna's brain in one of these spiders, in one of these monk vats. It would be really interesting if, you know how your brain doesn't die for a while after you're dead. So I wonder if it'll be kind of a cool thing. I don't think they're going to do this. I think it's just to create nostalgia and remind us of what's in Jabba's palace. But it would be super cool if they had killed, right after he shot Bib Fortuna, if he wasn't necessarily dead, if they went ahead and put his brain in this goop. That would be neat.
I am not a bounty hunter.
So, God, we're 10 seconds in. But Boba Fett here saying he's not a bounty hunter. And to me, that's him talking to somebody. Basically, they're kind of questioning, so who are you to be going around talking to folk and trying to get everybody back in the fold? And to me, that's Boba saying, I'm not a bounty hunter. I'm more than a bounty hunter. So maybe he's the boss now. Huh? That'd be cool. Got a cool droid there. Almost like a Polis Massa kind of look. You know, the one that talked about how Padme died because her feelings were hurt. If that was more of a real thing, so many people would be dead in 2021 from hurt feelings. She died because she was butthurt. So Boba's got his helmet. Is it just me, or is he already scuffed up this beautiful armor? He's had this for like 3 days, and it's already got all these scuffs on it.
I've heard otherwise.
You've got a voice that says, I've heard otherwise. I love the Boba Fett maroon and green Lucasfilm logo. That's the way the logo should be from now on. I don't care what show it is. They should always be Boba Fett's colors. So I tried to be sneaky. I don't know if you guys remember this, but towards the end of Mandalorian Season 2, we before they were confirmed, the Dark Troopers were on Moff Gideon's ship, and it kind of talks about Moff walking in there. You guys remember that? And they have just the rows and rows of Dark Troopers, and you can hear them, there's hoses hooked up to them and all this kind of stuff. And I can't remember where I heard this, but basically you can do, for people who want to watch the show but they are blind, they do like an audio description, basically like imagine an audio book but for TV shows. And I remember that's how the information finally dropped that these were Dark Troopers. We had kind of been thinking about it. I remember that was one of the times that we were prophets on the show last year, talking about it would be cool if the Dark Troopers came back and they were part of that project. But when you turned on that assistant, I guess, descriptor for the episodes, it talked about Moff Gideon walks into a room and he looks at a room full of Dark Troopers being made. I was hoping that I could turn on some kind of subtitles or something and see what this character's name was. This Ithorian that he's talking to, obviously a very distinguished gentleman, yes. If you guys aren't familiar with Instagram and TikTok and such, that's a joke. But this Ithorian that says he's heard otherwise, some people are speculating is that Doc Undar from Galaxy's Edge, the guy that has all the really cool little collectibles where you buy your holocrons and things. I don't know if this is him. I did hear rumor that there's going to be an Ithorian, some type of mob boss that is kind of the antagonist of the show. Or I don't know if it's just a one and done season type of thing. Man, imagine it's 2 seasons of Book of Boba Fett. I don't know if my heart could survive. But I tried to turn on captions to see if they would say what the guy's name was, but it never did. So they're walking into this place.
I know that you sit on the throne of your former employer.
And that sounds like Din Djarin to me. I know that it's supposed to be this Ithorian character, but what if it's not? What if that's just a clever voiceover?
Ruled with fear.
So obviously I think they're inside the palace of wherever this place is they've been going. Gamorrean's been with them. That's pretty dope. Looks like he dipped his pointer finger in his pinky and some Bacta and then rubbed it across his eyebrows.
And to rule with respect.
Streaming exclusively at Disney Plus. I really like how this show, you're really getting to finally see how huge Jabba's palace is. I think that as a kid growing up, whenever I saw Return of the Jedi from the special editions, the re-release in theaters, and then of course watching it on VHS 1,000 times, I remember not realizing how big it was, and I think it's because in the foreground you have that frog character that eats that little bug or whatever, and it makes it look smaller than it is, and it may be because they use miniatures, and so there was a frog puppet way in the foreground, and then Jabba's palace is in the background, but because it's a miniature, you can't really get the scale, you don't really get a good feel for it. I love that someone is walking up to Jabba's palace here, or I guess Boba Fett's palace now, big ballin'. But it's interesting to me that you can kind of see how massive this palace really is. Also, Boba Fett kind of strikes me as a little bit of a minimalist. In Legends and stuff, he just racked up credits on credits on credits. And he's kind of like Han Solo in the sense that Slave One's the only ship he ever wants or needs. He doesn't really care for anything else. So Jabba, much like myself, is a hoarder. Like, he's going to have all kinds of crap in there, all kinds of gold and drugs and slaves and all this kind of stuff just stored in this hole. I'm sure it's disgusting in there. It makes me wonder what Boba Fett could even put in there. Does he just have like a workout room in every area? Or maybe because Tamura Morrison's on set, they have a Polynesian spa.
We were all once captains under Jabba.
Finally get Trandoshans on screen. I'm dying to see a Trandoshan talk, and I want them to go. If Samuel was here, that's what he'd do. I like how you have these. Obviously, you have a giant Trandoshan here. If you look behind Boba's head on the far left, you have another giant Trandoshan, like 2 big enforcers, and then you have the 2. It seems like the 2 in charge fellas here, and this guy, he's looking over here. I don't know why. I think this guy just looks like such a derp. He just looks like, I don't know, more intimidated, you know? And then you have the Klatooinians, just disgusting. Kind of like dogs a little bit.
I'm here to make a proposal
Not to be
that's
racist.
mutually beneficial.
Aqualish. Did Ponda Baba just have fantastic dental hygiene, or is his butt mouth cleaner than the others? Is it just me? In this shot, it looks like you've got Finnick and Boba in essentially what would be the bedroom up there, or the master bedroom, or I don't know what they call it nowadays. But the primary bedroom, as it were. But it's interesting. I never really pictured a moment where Jabba was in his bedroom. I always just thought he slept downstairs. So it really shows how much of a bro Jabba was for having a sleepover at his house where he was hanging out on the couch with all his buddies, because apparently he has an actual bedroom. You can see my wife's arm right here. She's a trooper. I'm recording this at like 11 o'clock at night. Every galaxy. Oh my God. Tusken Raiders. We can't get enough Tusken Raiders. Can we get a Tusken Raider show on Disney Plus by themselves? I would love to just get like a Tusken Raider cookbook, 1,000 ways to cook a Krayt Dragon's egg. That would just be freaking sick. It seems to me that they've got darker clothes on here. So here's my thought on this one here. I think a lot of what we're seeing is probably from the first episode, maybe 2 episodes tops, which I really like. I know, obviously, I'm a sucker for, I want the Bosk shot, I want the Cad Bane shot, I want something wild, I want to see Black Chrysanthemum, I want to see Han Solo, I want to see something really crazy that's going to blow my socks off, but I know I'm going to get a whole season of it, and so these Tuskens are enough, guys. Don't let anyone tell you that you're not enough, Tuskens. But I love that they've got those darker outfits on. They got the gaffy sticks, these 3 fellas, and then you got the cycler. So this guy's probably the guy that shot at Anakin. Just kidding. But yeah, it's really interesting. I'm wondering if this, like, you know what I'm really not going to like? I'm really not going to like if we get this whole show and they're like, I mean, now that he's survived the Sarlacc, who needs to know why or how? You know, if we don't see that, I'm going to be pretty upset. So I'm hoping that maybe Boba calls a meeting with these these other captains that Fennec Shan's talking about, and maybe they're like, you know, how can we trust it's you? Maybe that's the first time he takes his helmet off. Obviously, from the Aftermath series, we found out about Cobb Vanth. Shout out to Cobb Vanth and Vanth's Armory on Instagram. But in the Aftermath books, one of the interludes talks about Cobb Vanth and how he found Boba's armor in a sandcrawler and he bought it, and that's how he started running Freetown and all that kind of stuff. And maybe a little bit of that was changed with the Mandalorian, but essentially, you know, we got that backstory. I'm really hoping that when Boba shows back up, similar to nobody really knew if Cobb Vanth was a real Mandalorian or not, much less a guy going around claiming to be Boba Fett. I wonder if these guys are like, yeah, well, Boba's been dead, so joke's on you. And my hope is in the first, 5 minutes of episode 1 on December 29th, either this is reality or I'm in, the best coma of my life. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But I'm hoping that in the first 5 minutes, we get to see that, hey, you're not Boba Fett. You know, he's been dead for 5 years, or he's been in the Sarlacc. He's being digested painfully over 1,000 years. I hope that he says, yeah, that's what you thought, and kind of breaks down what happened. And my hope is these Tusken Raiders are the folks who find him. I know the Jawas found the armor, but maybe the Tuskens, obviously they are very into survival. They're very, that lore behind the Krayt Dragons for them and things like that. Dude, who knows? Does the Krayt Dragon from Mandalorian Season 2 eat the Sarlacc and then can't digest it and she throws it back up and it almost looks like Boba Fett survives the Sarlacc and the Krayt Dragon? Who freaking knows? I mean, I'm ready for anything and everything. And so, can we just talk about how the threat from Jabba is that you're going to rot over 1,000 years? isn't the average human lifespan like 70-something years? How does that work? Are you just super dehydrated and parched and freaking hungry that whole time? Or is it like Mad Max and you're just like sticking your tongue out and there's just like a little dribble of water every once in a while? Is there someone in there keeping you alive?
Of conflict. When cooperation can make us all rich.
I very much appreciate that the Twi'lek headpieces, they're, I don't know what you want to call them, prosthetics or whatever, are looking much, much, much better. And so I did not care for the Twi'leks from Mandalorian Season 1. I just didn't like the Twi'leks. They're supposed to be very graceful and supposed to be very, just... They had like a French accent in all the audiobooks ever since the beginning of Mankind. And now it's just some British lady that's going... And so I didn't care for that. I think right here, I would be surprised if we were on Tatooine. You've got a lot of folks in the room. And it doesn't seem like... I don't know. I know this is kind of petty, but this little white guy's haircut right here just looks a little too preen and proper for Tatooine. It doesn't look like a Tatooine hangout, you know? Like, too well lit. Just everybody looks way too clean. It strikes me as he's off-world somewhere. Who knows? Maybe with all this gray, mark my words, with all this gray and all that kind of plain stuff, maybe he's on Mandalore in this scene. Jot it down. Every galaxy has a world. Of course, Slave One.
What prevents us all from killing you and taking what we want?
If you had spoken such insolence to Jabba, he'd have fed you to his menagerie.
Please. Speak freely.
Let's run that back a second. I have an idea of what's happening here. Okay, first of all, if these guys were all captains under Jabba, they look like they're not doing too poorly for themselves because look how they're dressed. Like these Trandoshans all have nice clothes on. This guy's got a freaking Count Chocula necklace. What do you call that? A necklace cape? This guy looks like when it rains, it just all gets into his neck. And it's kind of interesting. I guess this is the Aqualish over here. Who's this guy in the background over here?
Prevents us all from killing.
I was hoping I could see that guy. This guy looks like an evil Who from Whoville. This guy looks like the Grinch if you shaved him. This guy looks like trash. But he says, what prevents us all from just killing you? And there's something that happens here. They're making it. They're trying to make it seem like it's all one scene.
What prevents us all from killing you?
So, here's the thing. He's sitting at a table with Finnick and all these guys, and my thought is this is definitely not... I think he's given her the you need to kill somebody order right here. Like, this look is... You know, like I said, he says he's not a bounty hunter anymore. So I think it's cool to establish the fact that this is beneath me. Like killing people who tick me off, it's beneath me. So handle my business for me kind of thing, you know? He's the mob boss now, you know? He's the Capone. So he's looking to his lieutenant, which is Finnick Shand, to get the job done. So something happens here. What keeps us from killing you?
And taking what we want.
This is a completely different scene entirely. It's just showing his bad to the boneness. Vibroaxe, freaking sick. I love that we're finally seeing stuff that we've read about in books for a long time. For those of you who read or like comics or things, Vibroaxe and things like that. So we've heard a lot of those, but it's really cool to finally see them. I really hope we see that beheading for real. Maybe it's like whenever the movie starts, you can be like, you know, they have those warnings now where it's like, hey, the Jungle Book had insensitive content. We leave it in there so that you can see it, or whatever they say. I I hope that it's like, hey, you can see a beheading or not see a beheading. And I would click see a beheading.
If you had
So this is different. This is a different scene. I don't imagine that, because the throne's not behind him when they're at the table. So this is probably before the table, is my guess.
spoken such insolence to Jabba, he'd have fed you to his menagerie.
Also, you know what? I wonder if she says, if you would have spoken such insolence to Jabba, he would have fed you to his menagerie. Imagine the Rancor from Bad Batch is in Boba's ownership, and I know he says he's going to rule with respect, but it's also like, you know what the teens say, you got to give respect to get respect. So it would be interesting if they were like, well, we don't respect you. And she says, if you would have talked like that to Jabba, he would have fed you to his menagerie. And then they throw somebody down into there with the new Rancor, the one from Bad Batch.
Please.
Okay, here's what's happening here. This guy's face, this is definitely after dinner, in my opinion. Here's why. At dinner, he's like, well, what happened? We can kill you ourselves. I don't know why he sounds like Adam Sandler, but Adam Sandler meets Yoda. What's keeping us from killing you ourselves? Also, you can tell he's defeated because his necklace, his neck cape is so sad and saggy. But I imagine here, like, watch this motion real quick. When the guy to his right, our left, clearly has a gun pointed at Boba here. See that? Watch this guy's right hand.
Please.
Nope. He's saying, nope, don't try it. Not worth it.
Speak freely.
This speak freely is not a real speak freely. This speak freely is like when the priest says, does anybody have anything to say about this marriage? And 90% of the room goes, not a good idea. And it says, all right, speak now, forever hold your peace. Which I haven't heard anybody say that in a long time. I think they must have had a number of outbursts in a row, and they finally said, you know what? None of their business. But that moment where he's saying, speak now, forever hold your peace, and nobody really expects anybody to say anything, I think Boba Fett's saying, you know, he's using the old Teddy Roosevelt speak softly and carry a big stick method, where he's not going to say very many things, but he's going to say, you know, okay, well, say what you need to say, you know, John Mayer, but, you know, talk you know what, get you know whated, basically. December 29th can't get here fast enough. I had somebody come up to me and be like, hey, you want to watch that together? And I was like, are you going to talk at all? And they just looked at me, and I was like, I'm not trying to conversate here. I'm not trying to, I need to experience this for myself. So, not to be rude. Sorry, Chico. Let's see. I'm trying to find Black Chrysanthemum, and they're like, you want to watch The Black Klansman? It does have Kylo Ren in it, so I've always heard it's a good movie. Something that I'm super stoked about is I really hope we see Black Chrysanthemum. If you guys don't know who that is, he's a Wookiee bounty hunter, and he makes Chewbacca look just tiny, tiny, tiny. And if we don't get him in Boba Fett, we might get him in Kenobi. They definitely have seen each other before. And but yeah, here's a picture from some comics. Let's see if I can I make this picture bigger? Open image, a new tab. But yeah, they're very, very it's a very fun character. Here he is. If you guys look at Dagum, can I zoom in? Look at Owen Lars. Or is that Owen? Yeah, Uncle Owen? Look at him. This guy looks drunk out of his mind. Lay off the blue milk, Owen. But yeah, I'm super, super hopeful to see this guy. I'm hoping that if I was Boba Fett, the way that I would rule, the way that I would make sure all of our ducks were in a row, was I would get some of these guys that I know from the past and say, hey, look, you want to make more money than you've ever made in your life? Leave the side gigs behind. Leave the, hey, picking up somebody on parole. That's, leave the Dog the Bounty Hunter type of stuff behind and get with the program. He's basically, he's taken over Jabba's show. He's taken over the greatest crime syndicate in the history of the galaxy. I mean, Black Sun. We don't really know much about them in canon. In Legends by now, Prince Caesar's been killed. I would love, though, I think something that's really interesting. I know that there's a lot of people that really love Legends. And even myself, I love Legends, and I can jump into a great many number of Legends novels before I can jump into that same number of canon books and things. I think we have some great canon stuff. High Republic is just hitting it out of the park. But when it comes to Legends material, there's so many years ahead. But one thing that's cool about having, I've said this before, but something cool about having this Disney universe, yes, I called it a Disney universe, sue me. I really love that we're finally getting characters back. Like, say what you want, we were never going to get a Book of Boba Fett show if George didn't sell Star Wars, And so I do feel like we're living in, other than the lightning in the bottle, which is the original trilogy coming to theaters, we're living in peak Star Wars, And I say that because you can always go back and watch Revenge of the Sith if that's your thing. You can watch Revenge of the Sith Ultimate Edition if you so choose. You can put on your cool sunglasses, and you can, whether you want to just watch it online or purchase the Blu-ray edition, you can watch that if you want. And that type of thing is available because we're living in peak Star Wars time. You can go watch Clone Wars. You can watch the original Clone Wars. They're both on Disney Plus now. Droids is on there, Ewoks. So it's cool because they're paying homage to the things that were, but we're also getting new stuff. We were never, ever going to get a live-action Star Wars show about just Boba Fett and how bad to the bone he is. And I said this on Instagram, and I'm going to say it over the airwaves, but if you're one of those noobs that from 1984, when he fell into the Sarlacc pit, until 2020 when he showed back up on Disney Plus, if you're one of those guys that thought Boba Fett was overrated, and you know what I'm sick of? I'm sick of people saying that he's been overrated for all these years, my whole life, and now they want to be a part of the group. No, you're not allowed in the club. You underestimated our guy, and so you can watch outside. If you want to be outside my house on December 29th, I hope it's raining, and you can watch through my back window, but you're not allowed inside the crib while we're watching Book of Boba Fett. All of you Fett fans, you can come in and watch with me, but not you losers who thought that Boba Fett wasn't cool before this. Screw you guys. There, I said it. All those people who thought Thrawn was lame, and now he's turning out to be the freaking Thanos of all their Disney stuff. Yeah, you can watch outside too. You remember from Remember the Titans, where they're on the bus and you've got the white players and the black players, and like they aren't getting along yet. And I can't remember the guy, but the guy that gets in the car wreck, if you haven't seen the movie, it's been out for like 45 years. But Bertier, I want to say his name is. He's the white guy. He's like the middle linebacker or something. Anyways, he is. They're on the way to training camp, and he's sitting next to this guy Julius, and they end up becoming best friends. But on the way there, Julius is one of the better new players. As integration is happening in public schools, and then you've got Bertier, who's like the number one everybody's favorite guy, the homecoming king kind of character, and they're riding to training camp, and someone's singing, and Julius says, "You can shut up," and Bertier's like, "Ha, ha, ha, yeah," like he's trying to buddy up with them, and Julius looks him straight in the eye and goes, "And you can shut up too." And that's how I feel. If you didn't like Boba Fett and Thrawn before this, you can shut up, and you can watch from outside in the rain. And I hope a bird poops on you. I'll keep going. Okay, other characters I'd like to see. Obviously, you've heard me say some of this stuff before, but it's my party right now. As Canelo would say, it's my night. Bosk would be awesome. There's a little fan. Actually, this is a fan fiction little movie that came out a little while ago. I guess I'll go ahead and click on it and shout these folks out. It's not like I have any power here to get more exposure for these guys, but I can try. Let's see. This little blog or whatever from nerdreactor.com says Star Wars meets Predator fan film features Bosk the Bounty Hunter. And it's called Scorekeeper. And I will say, for obviously not low budget in the it sucks way, but low budget, like legitimately low budget, I was very impressed with how they had Bosk moving about and stuff. So, hey, maybe they need to call that guy. Kind of like they called the guy that did the better deepfake of Luke Skywalker. That was super awesome that they hired that guy. So call these folks that did Bosk. Bosk would be super awesome to see, but I don't want it to be a disappointment, I want to be very impressed. And I hope that he's real lanky. If you guys are toy collectors out there, the Black Series Bosk is too clunky for me. He needs to have that. I really prefer that Clone Wars animated lanky style. He's a lizard after all, so he should be kind of, reptilian and serpenty. Another character, obviously, we'd love to see is Cad Bane. I don't see Cad Bane working for Boba Fett. That's just beneath him. So he would be a great antagonist, and it would be a nice little feather in our Mandalorian helmets if Boba Fett finally gave Cad Bane the permanent boot into the afterlife, like he was supposed to in Clone Wars. That would be super cool. Or if you just want to come up and work alongside him, that would be really awesome. Cad really had a lot of respect for Jango, and Jango had a lot of respect for Cad. So in a perfect world, Bosk and Boba Fett and Cad Bane are all just best buddies, and they all take turns going to each other's houses for Thanksgiving and Christmas. But that's not the way that the galaxy works, especially not the underworld. Cad Bane would be awesome. And then someone that I'm not sure I want to show up, but I've heard rumor. It's been so long since we did something like this, I can't remember where I heard this from. But Omega would be nice. It would be cool to see her. I can't see a world where Boba Fett gives two craps about her, and that's probably going to hurt her feelings. I don't see her showing up in season 1 because that's like a huge spoiler for what happens in the Bad Batch. Like, I assume she's going to survive this series, but wouldn't it be kind of hardcore if she died? Wouldn't that be wild? But I don't know. It would be interesting. Has Boba turned over a new leaf, and is he the guy, if you're a reader and if you've gotten into Legends, kind of like what we've talked about before, in the Legacy of the Force series, like, family kind of becomes a thing for Boba Fett, and he meets his granddaughter and all kinds of stuff like that kind of happen. And so, if Omega does live that long and he's starting to think about legacy and he's starting to realize, man, who this really looks good for? That I'm now the ruler of basically the criminal underworld. This looks good for Jango's legacy. This looks good for, and from what we know from, Mandalorian Season 2, it's not necessarily that he's super concerned about the Mandalorian legacy, because Mandalorians outside of Jango and Boba are kind of wieners besides Din Djarin. He's not really concerned about that, I don't think. I think he's really concerned about his dad's legacy. And so it would be interesting, He's wasn't a fond of the clone troopers in the Clone Wars, but who knows? Maybe he's a different guy, The way that Boba acted in the Clone Wars and the way that he acted in Mandalorian were completely different as well. So maybe he would welcome one last family tie. That would be interesting. And does he end up on Mandalore at the end of the day? Who knows? Because he is the Mandalore, he is that guy. But in Legends, I'm saying, like, he becomes the ruler, and it's reluctantly. I don't see it being a big priority for him. But I can see a world where he shows up and, I don't necessarily think he cares about Din Djarin, but maybe it's all about the legacy of Jango Fett, or maybe there's people that would like for him to rule because he's that tie to the old ways. I don't think Bo-Katan's going to be a good leader. If you're a Bo-Katan fan here, I'm so sorry. I don't like your girl. I don't like the way she talks to my friend, and I'm not happy with it. But anyways, that's just a lot of speculation. I was so hyped, I had to break this down. I wanted to look at it. I'm sure there's tons more and Easter eggs we could just research and talk about for hours. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please like this video. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Share it with your friends and all of your fellow cohorts that are in the Bounty Hunters Guild. And we will see you guys next time. And remember, the Force will be with you always. And I'll leave that other little ending out there because Samuel's not here with us. But thank you guys so much, and have a great, great week. And remember, we're just days away. It's a lot of days at this point, more weeks. But we're just days away from our first ever Boba Fett series. How cool is that? Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.